I'm Jenna.
The tension in the title company's conference room was suffocating, like the thick fog that rolls in from the sea. The air conditioner hummed, a monotonous drone that did little to mask the palpable greed in the room. Ryan, my stepfather, leaned in close, his breath reeking of cheap cigarettes and desperation. His eyes were fixed on the pen in my hand, as if it were the key to his salvation. On the escrow officer screen, the bright green digits of $180,000 glowed like a beacon of false hope. The money had arrived, but it was about to slip through his fingers. I picked up the pen, its weight in my hand a symbol of the power I now held. Ryan hissed, "Sign the release and you get your cut." He thought he had won, that he had broken me. I signed my name on the mortgage, binding the debt to the house. But when he reached for the release form, the one that would put the money in his pocket, I stopped. Instead, I pulled out a thick manila folder from my bag and slid it across the polished table. Ryan blinked in confusion, nodding to the escrow officer to process what he thought was my bank details. The officer opened the folder, and her face paled. "Sir, I cannot release a single penny. This is a court order freezing the account," she stammered. Ryan's face went ashen, and the silence in the room was deafening. It was as if time had stopped, and I was the one holding the reins. "To understand why I did this, I have to take you back 48 hours to that fateful dinner." Ryan called it a family gathering, but I knew it was a trap. The dining room was filled with the smell of garlic and expensive whiskey, the kind Ryan bought to show off his false wealth. He sat at the head of the table, a self-proclaimed king of his domain, carving the steak with a precision that masked his inner turmoil. My mother, Lily, sat to his right, her hands shaking as she passed the dishes. Her eyes darted between Ryan and her son, Ethan. Ethan looked like a caged animal, constantly checking his phone, his leg bouncing so hard it made the glasses on the table rattle. "Put the phone away, son," Ryan said, forcing a smile. "We're having a nice dinner with your sister." "I can't," Ethan snapped. "The market crashed, and the audit notices are out." Ryan dropped the carving knife, the sound echoing like a gunshot. His false smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure panic. "Tell me you fixed it," he whispered. Ethan shoved his phone across the table. "I tried. The leverage killed me. The $55,000 is gone, Dad. It's all gone." I set my fork down and looked from Ethan's sweating face to Ryan's pale one. I knew Ethan worked in accounts for a small-scale trading firm. He didn't have $55,000 to lose. "You stole it," I said flatly. "I borrowed it," Ethan shouted, slamming his hand on the table. "I was going to put it back. But the audit is on Monday. If they call the cops, I'm looking at years in prison. Dad, you have to help me." Ryan rubbed his face with both hands. He wasn't surprised by Ethan's theft. He was annoyed at being caught. Then he turned to me, his eyes cold and calculating. "We need the house," he said. I shook my head. "Grandma left that house to Mom and me. It's Mom's future, her safety net." Ryan leaned forward. "I found a private lender. They can wire $180,000 by Friday. We pay off Ethan's debt, and I invest the rest in my business. We refinance later. No one loses." "A hard money loan? Those are predatory," I scoffed. 12% interest. If you miss a payment, they'll take the house in a month. You're asking me to risk Mom's home for Ethan's gambling addiction." Ethan stood up, his chair toppling over. "Who do you think you are? You're just a nurse cleaning up after people. I take risks, make moves. Sign the papers and do your job." I grabbed my purse and tried to leave, but Ryan blocked my way. He pulled out his phone and showed me a blurry photo. It was me at the hospital's pharmacy disposal area. In the photo, it looked like I was pocketing vials of medication, but it was just a matter of a bad angle. "Wednesday afternoon," Ryan said softly. "To the nursing board, this looks like drug theft. A complaint will get you suspended, maybe even fired." My blood ran cold. He had been planning this extortion for days, all while pretending to have a family dinner. "You can't prove anything," I said. "Anonymous tip with a photo can do a lot of damage," Ryan shrugged. "By the time you clear your name, You'll be broke and unemployable. I looked at my mother. She was in tears, her hands clutching the tablecloth. Please, Jenna, just sign the papers.
Don't let them ruin you.
He's your brother. That was the moment I knew I had to fight back. I sat back down and feigned defeat. You win, I said. But if I'm risking my credit and inheritance for Ethan's mess, I want $10,000 from the loan proceeds. Ryan hesitated for a moment, then his face relaxed.
Fee.
Consider it a consulting fee. We'll meet at the title company on Friday at noon. I agreed and walked out of the house. The cool night air hit my face, but I was focused on my plan. I spent the next 48 hours with a lawyer named Victor, a sharp, witted man who specialized in estate fraud. I showed him the DNA test that proved Ryan wasn't my biological father. He had claimed paternity 20 years ago to get his name on the deed of my grandmother's house, bypassing probate. I also played him the recording of my mother admitting it. Victor's eyes lit up. You don't just want to stop the loan.
You want to bury them, he said.
I nodded. I want the debt to stick, but the cash to be frozen. I want Ryan liable for the $180,000, but unable to touch a dime. Victor got to work. He explained that we'd file a lease pendens, which would put a cloud on the title. By the time we were at the closing, the property would be legally tied up. The lender would wire the money into escrow, but once the funds were there, the escrow officer would have to check the records one last time. If we timed it right, the money would land, and then we'd drop the lease pendens, freezing the funds. He also drafted an affidavit stating that I was cooperating under duress. With these documents in hand, I felt a new sense of power. I wasn't the scared nurse being threatened anymore. I was the one in control. On Friday at noon, I walked into the title company's conference room. Ryan, Ethan, and my mother were already there. Ethan was fidgeting, constantly checking the time. The escrow officer, a tired-looking woman named Stella, confirmed that the $180,000 had arrived. Ryan leaned back, a smug look on his face. Let's get this over with, he said. Stella slid the loan documents towards me. I picked up the pen and signed the mortgage note and the deed of trust, binding the debt to the house. Ryan watched, his eyes filled with greed. When it came time to sign the release form, I hesitated. I looked at my mother and asked, Mom, are you sure? Her eyes welled up. Jenna, please just finish it. I took a deep breath and instead of giving my bank details, I slid the folder across the table. Ryan barked at Stella to process it. She opened the folder and froze. I can't release the funds. This is a court filing alleging fraud and false guardianship. The escrow is frozen. Ryan's face turned white. What about the loan? Stella said quietly, it's active. You owe the money, but you can't access the cash. Ethan panicked. Dad, the audit is on Monday. Ryan turned on me. You planned this. I wanted my cut, I said. Just not in the way you thought. Ethan screamed, and Ryan lunged at me. Security quickly tackled him. Ethan collapsed, sobbing. My mother stared at the chaos, finally realizing the mess they were in. At the door, I said, You wanted the loan, Ryan. Enjoy the payments. And I walked out. By Monday, auditors arrested Ethan for wire fraud and embezzlement. Ryan's business crumbled as the lender sued, seizing his trucks and equipment. 3 months later, the judge voided Ryan's claim to the house. I sold it, paid off my loans, and funded a scholarship. A text came from my mother while I was at work. They're evicting us, please. I remembered her silence during that dinner, her willingness to sacrifice me for Ethan. In the end, I blocked her number and stepped into the sunlight, scarred but free.